What's everyone? What's up? Oh gosh, I've been talking so long. I'm just gibbering in my words. But what's up, everyone? I'm your girl Molinda Jae, and I'm going to be talking about this Freaknik documentary that has all the aunties and uncles freaking out for themselves. Okay, and not in a nasty manner, more like scared boots, to say the least. So let's dive into it. Okay, this is coming from Essence, and it is basically this you because you know when it comes to Twitter, right? Especially Twitter. I don't know about everybody else in their platform, but when it comes to the this you comment, that's people digging up in your archives and reincarnated what you already left behind, and that's the purpose of the is this you after you stating something or you doing something hypocritical. But other than that, it says news of Hulu's Freaknik documentary has our aunties and uncles collectively shook about being put on blast from the past. After Hulu announced for a forthcoming documentary on the infamous Atlanta festival, people on social media had a lot to say about what may come to light about those who attended Freaknik, especially in '94. I was 2 years old at the time, y'all. I was probably one going on 2 years old. The infamous Atlanta College Festival, known as Freaknik, will return to the spotlight in the upcoming Hulu documentary. Almost 40 years ago, after its 1983 launch, Freaknik, the wildest party ever told, will chronicle the rise and fall of the small Atlanta HBCU picnic that exploded into an influential street party and spotlighted ATL as a major cultural stage. Per the project's description, can the magic of the Freaknik be brought back 40 years later? It reads the documentary, which is yet to have a release date, is being directed by filmmaker P. Frank Williams. Some of the film co-founders are Atlanta hip-hop legend Jermaine Dupri, Uncle Luke Campbell, Peter Bittenbender, Melissa Cooper, Eric Tomosona, Terry Ross, Alex Avant. When the news broke earlier this month, people on social media had a lot to say about what may come to light and how past Freaknik shenanigans might catch up with the present. Some posts were hilarious takes on potential reactions to the documentary, and the controversy may stir it up. One Twitter user saying, Gen Xers, I'm so glad social media wasn't alive when I was out in these streets wilding out. There's no record of it online. At Hulu. Hold my beer. I got something for them. Remember, Freaknik, crying emoji, crying emoji, crying emoji. Okay. And another Twitter user saying, about to be a lot of divorces when that Freaknik documentary dropped. A couple of pastors gonna have to step down from the pulpit too. Another Twitter user said some of y'all mamas and daddies were on the video doing the bankhead bounce and Tootsie Roll on top of cars at Freaknik Atlanta in 1994 with Daisy Dukes on. But now they're online quoting scriptures and talking about modesty. Everybody between 45 and 55 after hearing about this Freaknik documentary would never but some foreseen footage. After the Freaknik documentary, we got a couple of images that a person created on Twitter. Another Twitter user said, and of course, we have to include the Essence shout out saying, Freaknik went to college, bought a house in ATL, really Alpharetta, joined the grad chapter, got a master's while raising 2 kids. Her youngest got a full ride to Spelman, but she hates when someone calls her Freaknik. She goes by Essence Fest now. Her FICO score is at 773. Another post had more serious tone calling out the SLUT shaming and the event's history of SA. Oh yeah, a lot of y'all daddies and uncles about to be exposed as grapists and grape apologists. #Freaknik. And this is a snippet from the true life documentary or just a whole documentary in general that you can view on YouTube. All right. when True Life had did an episode on Freaknik 98. And as you can see here, this is the fraternity iota. Okay. Also, another Twitter user saying Freaknik TW, group of men acting like a pack of wolves. Thomas Brown 98 hashtag Freaknik. TW. Can y'all leave in the comment section below on what TW means? I'm still trying to keep up with the acronyms of it all. But it says Freaknik was terror for many women, some that did not even attend. Hope those men get exposed that harm women out there. These are some of your fathers and uncles. And another 20 users said, I hope at Hulu details the truth about Freaknik, how it started as a collegiate picnic and it was infiltrated by grown folks and ultimately ended due to violence, SA against women and other crimes. Folks said mamas and aunties, no, y'all fathers and uncles should be worried as well. Gen X says they're glad there wasn't no social media back then, but now they get a whole documentary. Either way, we're looking forward to what it teaches and what it reveals about this renowned era of modern Black history. To say the least, I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna read a portion of this article. To say the least, y'all, what's done in the dark will always come to light, no matter what shape or form it is. Okay. So this is coming from Complex, the oral history of Freaknik, because I've heard about it. You know, my mom was talking about it, but she never went. Also, the first time I was introduced to Freaknik was this cartoon on Adult Swim. It was a cartoon, and oh man, it was a cartoon on Adult Swim that they showed, like, you know, Freaknik and stuff like that. And I believe CeeLo was a part of this little cartoon adventure at the time. I'm gonna have to look it up, but that was the first time I heard about Freaknik. Okay, and then that's when my curiosity led to ask them all, "Hey mom, what is Freaknik?" You know, but coming from Oral Complex, the oral history of Freaknik. Okay. The rise and fall of Atlanta's wildest spring break street party as told by those who lived there. Atlanta, 1992, a burgeoning Black mecca teeming with young professionals, hot weather, and undeniable energy. Colorful trickled out caddies and dope boy Benzes sitting on rims as tall as your waist, stuck at a standstill on overcrowded 75-85 connector. Fine young women on the come up, sporting finger waves and poetic justice braids, hustling to class, anticipating the weekend to come. Guys in oversized shirts, crew socks, cross colors abound, while Chris Lava and Poon Daddy drop the latest bass heavy joint on Hot 97.5 AM, all against the backdrop of the yet urban southern city. Yet something is about to go down in ATL, and it's freaky. Although the name Freaknik now conjures images of scantily clad, curvaceous women, crowded streets, and Sodom and Gomorrah style public fun, and some lewd violence, animalistic behavior that degraded and shamed Atlanta's Black community. It had humble beginnings. It all started in 1982 as a small picnic thrown by Spelman and Morris Brown students who needed a little hip midterm get down. And we all, if you've been to college, midterms is like a highway to hell, okay? Because it's like the make it or break it point on whether you're gonna pass or not. Soon the picnic began to extract other students from nearby Black colleges like Morehouse and Clark Atlanta, where the infamous name Freaknik came from. A 70s dance called the bump, also known as freakin'. To this day, the word Freaknik, I already read that, sorry. Without Twitter and Instagram, to spread the word, HBCU insiders who had their ear to the original social network, also known as the Grapevine, helped turn that picnic into Black cultural phenomenon. Spike Lee's 1998 School Days, another um that's another way that I was introduced, or knowing inklings of Freaknik, watching School Days later on in my years, because don't hurt me, y'all, but hear me out. I did not watch most Black films until in my 20s and later on, okay? Because I was moving and I was a busy bee in my younger years, okay? Also, on a November 30th, 1989 episode of NBC's A Different World, the characters Whitley Gilbert and Freddie were desperate to make their way down to the Freaky Festival. Once largely ignored by the city of Atlanta, Freaknik steadily grew into size, and soon local officials were desperately trying to organize a charge by adding a career fair, concession stands along Auburn Avenue, and the community basketball games. They even attempted to name change, like Sweet Auburn Festival, the Black College Weekend, but their efforts were all in vain. By 1992, the little picnic had turned into a full-on street party without inhibitions, boasting some 200,000 attendees, overrunning almost every part of the city and crowding out residents and workers who made their living there. Thus, the legend of Freaknik was born. Its popularity grew, so did the dollars pouring in from college students coming in to partake in some ratchet fun. By 1994, the festival was adding as much as $20 million to the city's economy. But what happens when you leave college students to their own devices and mixed parties, drinking, word of mouth hype, a local government turning a blind eye, an unfettered fettered desire to get down equals trouble, which explains why this story some would prefer to leave untold, because it is a event that people have reincarnated, which I did see a documentary on that, of it being reincarnated in 2019, and they made it as a family affair and not like how it once was. And there was reservations on that end, because that's just something that you had to be there, or as we would say, you had to be there to experience it. If you weren't there, I'm sorry. Furthermore, within this article, it says, as popularity grew, so did the dollars pouring in from college students. Oh, I already read that. I'm sorry. To this day, the word Freaknik prompts chastising look and tight-lipped conversations in certain circles. But that secrecy has threatened now that Hulu has announced it's developing documentary about the infamous event, according to Variety. Freaknik, the wildest party never told, will depict the rise and fall of a small Atlanta HBCU picnic that exploded to an influential street party and spotlighted ATL as a major cultural stage. The documentary will be executive produced by Jermaine Dupri, Luther Campbell, Peter Bittenbender, Melissa Cooper for Mass Appeal, Eric T for Swirl Films, Terry Rose and Alex Avon, Nikki Biles, Jay Allen, Geraldine L. Porras, and P. Frank Williams. Festival goers have already started vocalizing their concern on social media about the documentary, potentially exposing their behavior and identities or using footage of them in action. Back then, nothing seemed to be off limits, with the revelers who poured in from all over the country during the third week of April to get down during spring break. Testosterone and alcohol drunk young men with camcorders came to make their weekend an orgy of honeys and hip hop. Women abandoned their scruples and clothes, ready for whatever. Rap was in infancy at this time, and it began the soundtrack to revelry. Many rappers' Freaknik was their opportunity to break their dirty South sound to the world, because it was all about the New York vibe. And then in somewhat California, the West Coast vibes. But down south, it was basically still goings of the goings at the time. It was probably, I think it was at its infancy around this time as well, as far as like the dirty South sound. Okay, but we already had the blues and R&B and stuff like that. But with the 99 and 2000 type of deal, that's where the that's where the root lies. Okay, Freaknik also helped pave the way for many today's music videos featuring women sporting little to no clothing and flaunting other abundant assets as public twerking became the norm, as I've already said before. And I'm going to cut it right here because this is a long article and this is a whole separate video in itself. Okay. But I want to give my little 2 cents and thoughts on this one. Okay. First things first is that, one, we can't allow the past to define what happens today to a certain degree. However, if this is a case of breaking the pattern, in my opinion, because when you hear the word Freaknik, or whenever you're addressing a situation that happened back then, more the elders to a certain degree will just hold their tongue and don't want to speak on that matter and want to keep it under the rug for so long. So in my perspective, this could be an opportunity to help bridge the gap between the Gen Xers and the Gen Zers, the millennials. And therefore, why I say this, hear me out, is because what happened before with Freaknik and what happened there with the hairstyles, the finger waves, the poetic justice braids, the skimpy outfits, also how the men was dressing at the time as well, and the long nails. Let's not forget y'all aunties was wearing the long nails back then too. So the fact that the young cats are wearing long nails now, and it may have been longer than what y'all were wearing back then, but it's the fact that what y'all did before, y'all see the pattern happening now. Okay, so with this coming out, I think we can use this all as a learning experience and just make and just realize that we're not too far from the tree from each other. Okay, it's just with y'all didn't have social media like that. Okay, y'all had the World Wide Web, and its inklings on that, but y'all did not have any social media like Facebook, Instagram, MySpace, Black Planet, Bebo, and the list goes forward to keep track of what you have done. And then if you have done something that is controversial, people will come and go into that archives and be like, is this you right here? So also, yeah, we can utilize this as a learning curve. Okay, so fret not. Okay, to the Gen Xers. Okay, and also to the survivors as well, the one that encountered the essays. And I did watch on another YouTuber's channel when they were breaking it down as well, that someone had lost their life during that time, as well as a attempted robbery or a mistaken robbery, something like that. And of course, that's going to trigger the family members for that individual as well, due to him losing his life at a time where that was his first time attending an event, and with that he ended up losing his life unexpectedly. And then also the inklings that was happening at the Freaknik, based on what I watched with the True Life documentary of 1998 Freaknik, is no different than what it has happened to Miami with the spring break, because I even seen clips from this year's Miami spring break with people fighting each other on the beach with all that luscious water and sun to soak up. Y'all there fighting, okay? And then there was also people standing on people's cars as they was trying to get through. Yeah, same thing happened with Freaknik. Also, a person losing their life in the middle of the street due to people not that are not capable of holding a weapon and holding conversation or being a law-abiding citizen has caused a person to lose their life in the middle of the street. Meanwhile, you have the officers trying to resuscitate him, and you can clearly see that he has perished already. And then I also seen a video with this year's Miami spring break of police clearing the scene with the fire hose, right, of the person passing away, clearing the scene as in the BLOOD, right? Meanwhile, where it happened, you see a whole lot of people waiting for the restaurant to open up so they can resume operations. Why? Because it's a popular restaurant there in that strip. And then on top of that, I also seen a video of these women or these young cats, okay, destroying a daiquiri place, leading to the employee just walking out because and letting them have at it. I don't know what the root cause of them people going off like that, but I find that insane. And the folks that in the Miami area, the residents that living in that Miami area, especially in that South Beach region, they are basically doing what the Atlanta residents was doing as well back then when Freaknik was happening, which was either leaving town or shutting down their businesses or putting a curfew on business operations due to people don't know how to act. Okay, all right. So it's crazy how one thing starts as good intention and it ends up unfolding all because people don't know how to act in public. And that's what needs to be getting down to the root of the issue is people are not well versed when it comes to traveling. And of course it happens, but with this constantly happening, it's beginning to be a problem at this point. And then because the spot for spring break, it was Atlanta, it was Myrtle Beach, it probably was California too. I didn't realize Texas had beaches until I moved here. And then when I in Panama City Beach was the area, or Daytona Beach was the area to go, or Tampa is the place to go for spring break. But they end up migrating over to Miami Beach. Why? Because of the hurricane that end up destroying or messing up Panama City Beach to where they had to get back to normal and restore that area because they rely on tourists. They rely on the tourists just as much as they rely on their residents when it comes to their local income or bringing income to their benefiting their economy. There we go. So, and then of course, when it comes to Texas, the difference between Texas beaches and Florida beaches is that Texas, you get to drive on the beach, like in the Corpus Christi area, Port Aransas. And I even seen episodes on that when I was dropping my brothers off for spring break. And I would love to hear the stories when they come back, but it's not the extent where people are losing their life, you know what I'm saying? And then if you want to go further down south in the Texas region, there's South Padre Island, where some of the artists will go and perform there. All right, so people, we can use this as a learning gap, okay, to bridge the gap with each other, because I see the similarities that happened then that is happening now. But of course, when as a Gen Xer, I know you want to put that behind you, but until you address what once was, it's going to keep coming back at you. Okay. So that's all I have for that one. But at the end of the day, feel free to leave your comments down below in the comment section with that. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.